Oh, I don't hear my mic. Okay.
Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is Hassani.
I'm Danielle.
And we are the Couples Academy. And if this is your first time tuning in, we are a relationship-based learning institute committed to helping couples by placing them on the path to fulfillment. We have a private practice here at our world headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. And we take clients. This is what we do. We even do it in this pandemic. And we do it virtually with couples all over the world. And so every single morning for about 30 minutes, a little bit longer sometimes, we want to give you information, inspiration. We want to show our dedication to you and to your relationship. And so we're glad to have you on.
Absolutely. We've been talking about narcissism. This is our most recent series. It's been really good. You guys have been talking about, can we please discuss this topic? Mental health is a huge issue inside marriages that is seldom talked about. And so today we want to continue with our third part in this series, and we're talking about, can a narcissist truly change? Join us now.
So just a couple days ago, I think it was during our first episode, we got a message, we got an inbox message from someone. And the question was, I think my husband's a narcissist. Can he change, or am I wasting my time, remaining in this marriage? And I said, you know what, we're going to get to that. That's a great question. We're going to dedicate a show to that. And here we are. Can a narcissist actually change? That is the $1 million question that many of you have been asking. You have been thinking. Many of you have felt hopeless, helpless. Some of you have felt like throwing in the towel and giving up and calling it quits. But we want to let you know that there's some information that you need to know in order to make an effective decision. And so we're glad that you have us on. Let me just say good morning to the people. Stephen, of course, good morning. Dee Dee Jones,
he says he loves the apparel.
Oh, he likes that. Well, boom, you can have this too. All right. Natalie, Clarence, Kathy, Angel, they're all here this morning. The gang is here. We're glad. We want you to push that share button and share it with your community so we can dive deep into today's conversation. Let's get it.
Well, you know what? If you think you are dealing with a narcissist, odds are you have done a tremendous amount of research on this topic. And you are kind of taking your notes, right? You're saving every receipt. You're comparing everything that you're reading out there. And honestly, the verdict is out on whether or not a narcissistic personality can change, because we know that it is a personality disorder if you are truly diagnosed with it, right? So you think about any other mental health crisis or issue. If you have schizophrenia, if you have, what is the other one? The multiple personality disorder, Tourette's syndrome, the one that's more women have. What's that?
That's the, oh man, it was just on the tip of my tongue. It's a personality disorder. So basically narcissism is associated with men more. Yeah. And then there's another
dissociated personality
disorder.
We'll get
it. We're going to talk about it.
But with all personality disorders, it is a condition, right? A mental condition. So what we see and what we've been talking about is that you hear people using these terms. This person's a narcissist. She's a narcissist. And we use it in an ignorant way, really not fully understanding what that actually truly means. And we understand that people who have a narcissistic personality disorder tend to have either a grandiose type of an attitude. They fantasize about the bigness of their personality. They're arrogant. They have an entitlement issue. They have very low to no empathy about how they are affecting their environment, those around them. And they have this desperate need for admiration and attention, and it comes from a place, right? So when you start to see some of these tendencies, we're so quick to throw the dart of, that's a narcissist, right? Without knowing that it's a diagnosis. And here's the deal. Anybody can have some of those issues, right? If you're a vain person, you could tend to want somebody to compliment and admire you all the time. That doesn't make you a narcissist, though it is a quality of narcissism. We said this yesterday, that the whole term narcissism came from the story of a young man, Narcissist, who fell in love with his image in a pond, and he literally died there. So we have to kind of separate this thinking that because you have certain tendencies, you're automatically a narcissist. This is something that needs to be diagnosed by a trained therapist that actually specializes in narcissism. That's the key.
The thing is, guys, you're not a doctor unless you are. You're not a physician unless you are. And guess what? It's good to be a knowledgeable, educated, well-read individual. And there's a lot of information online, some that is pretty consistent, and then some is conflicting, but yet and still, you may identify many traits, as Danielle is saying, in your partner or in yourself that's reflective of it, but there could be a different condition. Like when you talk to therapists and physicians, there are 1,001 type of issues that people struggle with. And so though on the surface it may look one way, it may be something else.
Yeah.
Because the one thing you don't want to do is trap your partner or yourself in some identity that's not reflective of who they really are. Because at the end of the day, a false diagnosis can lead to a false prescription that can create more problems than solutions.
But here's the caveat. Most narcissistic personalities, somebody who actually is a real narcissist, even though they've been undiagnosed, will have no interest in changing. Will have no interest in going to therapy to find out if they really are a narcissist. And that is where you have the difficulty. And so, there are two opinions out there, that they'll never change, and it's more focused on those reasons because they're never wanting to change. They never will see themselves. And then there's another thought out there that is that everybody can change, right? You think about folks that have other mental conditions or disorders that go through years of therapy to learn how to function as a regular citizen, how to be productive, how to go get a job. And so we want to kind of highlight some of the ways you would know if you're dealing with somebody who has narcissistic tendencies. Okay, we're not going to put that they are a narcissist. We're going to say the person has narcissistic tendencies. Here's how you know if they're ready to change. And you're
Absolutely.
Say something.
A couple of comments I just want to acknowledge. The series has been great and really eye-opening. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate that. Natalie says, a friend is considering getting tested. Can you recommend a testing site? Yes. If you go to yesterday's show, whatever platform you're watching, in the description, there is a link that you can click on to take the test online. But then outside of that, if you actually want to get officially tested, just Google search, narcissism, personality disorder, test, physician, therapist.
Psychology.com has all kinds of therapists available right there that specialize in almost everything.
And just put your zip code in there also. If you put your zip code in there, then you'll find a lot in your particular area that can help you with that. Good morning. Great topic. I appreciate that. There is one statement. Thanks for presenting this. There you go. Thanks for presenting on this today. I'm a victim of narcissism for over 19 years, eventually got divorced, and I'm living peace now. Well, yeah, I mean, these are the challenges. These are the things that we need to be aware of. One more comment before we go. Good morning and blessings, and the work you're doing from the Twin Cities. #Marriage Matters, #Black Love Matters, #Let's Stay Together. Awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah. So let's dive in. Well,
I love that first comment where she said that somebody she knows is thinking about getting tested. So that to me should give some folks some hope, right? That all is not lost, because the fact is whatever you're dealing with under your roof with your spouse, if you think that they are a narcissist, that means that you're experiencing narcissistic tendencies from that person. We have not diagnosed them yet. And so here's some things that you might want to consider. We know that narcissists lack empathy. It's either very low or no, right? And so if the person in your life that you think is a narcissist begins to acknowledge the feelings of others, right? Because here's the deal. A narcissist is going to push everybody out of their space. It's going to become very isolating for the narcissist eventually, because you can't say nothing to them. You can't point things out because they'll learn how to spin it and turn it on you. They suck up all the oxygen in the room. You have no space. You can't get a word in edgewise. You know what I mean? And so they will find themselves being lonely after a while. And if they have some sense of themselves, they're going to start to say, like, is it me? Am I affecting? Like, why is everybody leaving? Asking those questions and starting to consider how other people feel is an indication that they're ready to change.
Exactly. Sometimes people have to be pushed. I posted something a couple years ago that talks about how men in particular wake up. When do they wake up? They wake up when they're confronted with disease, when they're confronted with divorce, when they're confronted with possible death. And sometimes it takes the worst situation for them to say, oh my God, what have I done? Let me wake up out of my stupor. Now, that's not ideal, but some people are motivated by the fear of loss, the fear of the loss of life, the fear of the loss of health, the fear of the loss of a marriage or close relationships. And so at the end of the day, if a person really begins to course correct, it may be an indication that, they're ready to make that change.
Most of the things that we do in life, we do unconsciously anyway. Like the other day, this was really crazy because I was driving pretty fast. The other day I was driving home. I do not remember the drive. I literally drove the entire way unconscious. It was all muscle memory.
That is a scary thought, folks. That's scary.
It's not scary
on live TV.
Well, you can Google this. This is exactly what we do. Most of the time, we're operating from muscle memory. We are not conscious of our behavior. So this is how you just, you find yourself, how did I get home? When did I get home? Because you've done it so many times, you can do it on autopilot, right? And so when you think about the narcissist, a lot of what they're doing it in autopilot mode. They're not even aware. They're not conscious. But when they begin to have interest in their behavior, when they start to consider, and it's similar to the first one, but when they consider themselves in the situation, like I said, they tend to react the way that they react, and they affect the environment, and they're so unaware of how that impacts people. But when they start to look at that and become conscious and self-aware, that's an indication that they're ready for change.
One of the greatest mentors I've had, Stokely Carmichael, then later named Kwame Ture, he said that the job of the conscious is to make the unconscious aware of their unconscious behavior, thus making them conscious. So when a person, to your point, we operate by automatic, systematic remote control. It doesn't require any cognitive thoughts or reasoning. We just do. It's a matter of slowing down and becoming consciously aware of yourself, because we have unconscious thoughts, unconscious feelings, unconscious behaviors. And this is why we say your spouse is your mirror.
Yeah.
They can see what you cannot see because you're oblivious to yourself. They see all your blind spots. And so we get so offended and we shut down when we hear something from our spouse that doesn't align with how we see ourselves. But that is what they're there for, to sharpen you, to help you to become the best version of yourself. So please don't be so self-absorbed that you can't receive critique, not criticism, but helpful critique from your partner, because they may be the one to help you get on the path to change and transformation.
Yeah, and this is a journey, right? For all of us, it's a journey, but for the narcissist, this would be a journey. Once you become conscious, like, wow, people are leaving my life left and right. Everyone is saying the same thing about me every time, right? This is kind of coming out of the fog for the narcissist, right? They move into self-reflective mode. Now I'm looking at me and I'm comparing what's going on with my life to me, and now I'm awake. This is when they start getting interested in some kind of understanding, like, why am I the way that I am? There's a scripture, the scripture, oh, wretched body that I'm in, why do I keep doing these sins?
Right.
I don't do what I don't want to do, or I do what I don't want to do, and who's going to save me? Well, it's like that. Like, the narcissist is like, I don't know why I do what I do. And they become aware of it, and now they're interested in learning more. And that discovery is powerful, because now that's when you can introduce them to somebody who might be able to help diagnose.
And you know what, as we're talking and as I hear you, this is I'm not talking about narcissism, but I'm talking about being unconscious of your behaviors, your thoughts, and your actions. And why do I do what I do? That's reflective of what many of us go through. Like there's all types of negative habits. And so that should give you at least a level of empathy and compassion, because we are so quick to say, you need to change. Well, how long have you been trying to change? How long have you been trying to get yourself together? How many years have you been struggling with your weight or with your drinking or with whatever habit that's been controlling you? Change is not, it's simple, but it's not easy. Like, okay, these are the simple steps to change, but it's not an easy process. So this is why it's so important that we have some level of grace, but yet and still establish firm boundaries, right? Because the behavior has to change, because it can go from bad to worse if unchecked.
Right.
Man, there's so many comments, Danielle. Let's just jump in. Thanks for presenting this today. I'm a victim of narcissism. I think I read that earlier, but now they're in peace. Let's go to another one. Question, does it have to be a perpetual battle, or can a spouse actually live comfortably in a union with a narcissist? I'm looking forward to hearing today's message.
Wow. Well, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, that most of the time when you're in a relationship with an actual narcissist, when there are times of peace, it's really because you have not impeded the agenda of the narcissist. When you get in their way, when you show any conflict or issue about what they're doing, why they're doing, how, if you're questioning it, especially if you haven't been trained on how to deal with a narcissist, because there are trainings on that you can learn how to question, how to first, sugarcoat it. There's a lot of stroking the ego that you have to do to deal with a narcissist so that they don't move into these eruptions of anger and defensiveness and stonewalling and all of that. And so, there are ways that you do it, but it usually involves a lot of the person who's not the narcissist kind of ebbing and flowing and moving around the narcissistic personality.
Absolutely.
So there's an interesting thing that has been discovered, that when a narcissistic personality has been diagnosed, other diagnoses go along with it. There's usually a dual diagnosis of anxiety, depression, and other eating disorders can be a part of it. And so when they actually do get into the hands of a trained therapist, where they begin to move to this journey of discovery, where has this mindset come from? What happened in childhood? What has brought about all of these symptoms? That's when they begin to discover that there are actually other disorders that person is dealing with as well. So it's never usually just one thing.
Listen, I hope you're getting something out of this. Let me go to one more comment. A covert narcissist is very hard to detect. You really have to know the signs to look for when it comes to covert narcissists.
Yeah.
And I think that's really true. There are different types or categories of narcissists that are out there. And these are the things that we're trying to talk about today. You're listening to the topic, can a narcissist really change? Fascinating topic. There's a couple more points that we want to hit. But before we do, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We will be right back.
Hi, my name is Ruth, and this is my husband, Cleveland. We're from Washington State. We came all the way down here to Atlanta. We've been married for over 40 years, and we were in a position of really looking at even divorcing each other at this point in time. I have brought with me over 40 years of baggage, of a lot of pain and a lot of hurts. And we got here, Hassani has helped create a very safe environment for me to be able to share what those hurts were, but assisted and helped us with communicating with each other in a real effective way. So I really felt that my husband was actually able to hear me and help respond to those needs and those hurts that I was expressing. Likewise, he was able to express to me a lot of the hurts that he has had. And this is a process that we'll do ongoing.
This 3 days has been a life-changing experience for both of us. We've unpacked many, if not all, of the issues that have been a problem. and we resolved them, and we have a program to work on going forward. The biggest problem over the last 40 years in our marriage was not having the tools to deal with a marital family relationship. So it amazes me how many tools has and walked us through these 3 days, and to go forward, more tools to continue the process that we have begun here this weekend. So it's a blessing, it's a miracle. My wife and I are on track again together. We've had some very deep discussions. We both wept, we both cried. We've just broken all.
All right, guys, we're back. I hope that was helpful. Sometimes it's good to take a break so that you can hear what's possible. There's so many couples who are going through challenges in their relationships and don't know where to turn, don't know what to do. And so they reach out for help. And we are one of the resources that's available to you. And so we encourage you, go to the website, go to couplesacademy.org, set up a discovery call. Let us hear about your situation. As we were talking offline, you were watching some of the ads that we have. And one of them was about an event that's coming up in December. It's the second weekend in December, the 11th through the 13th. It is our virtual last chance weekend. Now, we do this in person, but because of COVID, we've decided to move it virtually. It's an opportunity for you to be a part of a 3-day intensive, not a retreat, because a retreat is a couple of sessions here. You enjoy the environment that you're in, you're rekindling, you're having a good time. But an intensive, a last chance weekend, are for those couples who are going through pain, who are going through hardship, who are in a place where they're ready to throw in the towel, call it quits, and just give up. You don't have to do that. There is an option for you. And so we're going to be talking about it more, but we encourage you, go to the website, see how you can sign up for the last chance weekend. It is the last thing we're doing in 2020. Listen, this year can change and turn around for you, and your marriage can be in a much, much, much better place. So we encourage you, sign up today, register, and get involved. But we're talking about narcissism. Mm-hmm. We want to step into, what are the steps that they can take in order to actually change?
Yeah. So, if you're dealing with a narcissistic personality type and they are showing some of these signs that they're interested in change and they're willing to go and explore this a little bit more, get yourself into the hands of a trained psychologist that deals with narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. There are certain techniques, there's multiple techniques, but some of the things that they would be dealing with is identifying existing defense mechanisms. And so, as we know, the narcissist is the master of defense mechanisms, right? Because at the core of them, they are defending this lack of self-worth, self-value, this internal loathing, right? But no one would ever know that because of how they express. And so a trained therapist is going to take them through a process to help them understand why they have these defense mechanisms. Next, they're going to explore the reasons behind the coping methods that they've chosen, right? When you think about our childhood and the things that we do to cope, I even shared with you a couple times about how when I was a kid and my parents would be fighting, I would go find a small corner and hold my hands over my ears and hide. That's how I would cope with the noise and the dysfunction, right? All of these things come from a place. A therapist is going to help them look at those things to understand why they do what they do. Then they're going to learn and practice new patterns of behavior. Because if I have low empathy and I don't feel you, and I hear people say this all the time, like, especially in the Enneagram sessions, they talk about how I don't understand that, I can't feel that, like they can't connect or empathize with other people's feelings. Whereas you have other folks on the other spectrum that are empaths and they feel everything everyone else is going through. Well, the narcissist doesn't have that. And so they need to learn how to do specific behaviors. They need to learn how to engage with people, learn how to communicate in a soft and caring way, even when they don't feel it. And it makes me think about Holly Robinson Peake's son, she has a son that has, I think he has Asperger's, but I know he has some mental health disorder, who has been in training since he was a little boy to learn how to function so that it's almost not even noticeable. He doesn't have the same sense of feeling. He doesn't know if someone's joking, for example, right? But he's learned what to do, even when he doesn't feel it. And so that's what the narcissist has to do. And then next, exploring how behaviors affect others, right? So if I'm completely unaware of myself, I have no idea how when I walked into the room, I just turned it all upside down. The therapist is going to help them to understand these things. There's so many other activities that they take, those that will show up through the process, through this process. But the issue is that most will never show up. And that's the big issue.
Yeah. And so that's true, Danielle. But change is possible. Change is there. You can get better.
Yeah.
Let me just say, share this, because with all that she just stated, those are the actual practical steps. And so there's literally like 4 levels that you have to go through to change. We may have talked about this a long time ago, but level number 1 is what we call unconscious incompetence. Level number 2 is conscious incompetence. Level number 3 is conscious competence. And level number 4 is unconscious competence. Now, what does that mean? When you're unconsciously incompetent, it means you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that you have this diagnosis. You don't know that it's a problem. But once you become consciously aware that, you know what, I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to show up. That's where learning can begin. So going through these processes and going through these methods and techniques, you can become consciously conscious of doing, or consciously competent of the right thing to do. So to your point, the person with the Asperger's who doesn't have the ability to determine whether someone's being humorous or not, but they know how to respond in that situation. I think a lot of times people say, well, that's just not authentic.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel genuine, and I'm not going to fake it, and I'm not going to be something that I'm not. It doesn't mean that you're not being genuine or you're not being sincere. It just means, to your point, that there may be a deficit in a certain area of your life that you have to develop to a place where it's normal and healthy so that you can function in a relationship. At the end of the day, the key to this relationship is healthy, positive, interpersonal relationship skills. I've got to relate to this person. This person has got to relate to me. And if I don't have the right wiring to figure that out, I got to go somewhere to learn it.
Yeah.
And the more I do it, the more I do it, the more I do it, the easier it gets. I'm becoming consciously competent in doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do I go from conscious competence, where I'm literally focusing, okay, do this, do that. It's not natural to me yet, but how do I get to the point where it's natural? Repetition. See, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And now you're doing it with relative ease. You don't have to think about it. You mentioned earlier how we do things by automatic, instamatic, remote control. And so the process is practice. Practice doesn't make perfect, but it makes better. And so no matter where you are on the scale of narcissism, you can get better so that you can function healthy in a relationship.
Absolutely. There's so many comments in here. I just want to read a couple of them. Tyrone says, I don't want a divorce, but she won't get help. I do therapy, read books, write, and I'm constantly on YouTube to get help for saving my marriage. But I'm doing all of this in hopes that she will follow. And you know what? When you've done all you can, you must stand. And that's the thing. I think most of us, we're ready to throw in the towel before we've even really put up a good fight. And I think, you know, I mean, just speaking for you and I, that when you started to do the work, I started to pay attention. It took a while, but I started to pay attention. And so we don't know if she's a narcissist or not. She could just be bitter, angry, frustrated about some things in the past. Keep doing what you're doing. You said later on that you are not willing to give up on your marriage, so kudos to you. And then we have another comment. It says here, honestly, which narcissist really wants to change? And you know, that's a good point. I actually know someone who is a diagnosed narcissist, aware that they are a narcissist, but they struggle. And the thing is that when you get a diagnosis, if that happens, because there are some times when you don't want to lose it all. See, a narcissist, they want to placate up an image, right? They don't want everything to fall apart around them because now they're really exposed. They really value the coverings and the people around them that feed the narcissistic need, right? So one of the things that's spoken of a lot is that the turning point for many narcissists is when they feel they're about to lose it all and be exposed. And at that moment, now they're putty in your hands because they want to keep from everyone else from knowing. And that's a good time to get them in to see a therapist. But at the same time, to Hassani's point earlier, we all struggle. We all are at war and battling with ourselves all the time. So if you're dealing with someone that truly is diagnosed with NPD, that is a battle that they're going to have to deal with.
Absolutely.
That is a fight that they're going to continue to fight.
And so we want to tell you as we close to continue to fight, to stay in there. You know what? Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Don't call it quits. When you reach your breaking point, just know that if you just make it yet another day, if you just push a little bit harder, you will begin to see your breakthrough. We know many people who have struggled with all types of things. And so they got to a point where they said, you know what? I want something different. So when you've done all that you can do, stand on the word, stand in faith, pray, because whatever you do, you're planting a seed, and the seed that you're planting, somebody else may water, but then God gives the increase. So that's why it takes a community of people. That's why you got to ask God to raise people up to speak and touch your spouse in a way that you can't. And when these things are done, all of a sudden things change. So guys, I hope that this is helping you. I hope that you got something out of today's session. We are Couples Academy, and we hope to see you for another great day of a phenomenal conversation. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
If you know that marriage is good to you, hey, clap along if you feel like marriage is a thing to do. Can bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Our love is too high.